Welcome back. As we continue in our reasoning and our, just reflection on the 7 steps of problem solving, I mentioned that step number 1 is find the problem. Instead of spending a lot of time on the internet searching for jobs and spending a lot of time going around looking for opportunities and even chasing money from one trade to another, from one place to another, you should be scanning for problems. Look for problems. I know in our society they say, don't look for problems. Stay out of trouble. No. Find the trouble. Find the problem. Find the challenge. Find the gaps. Find the dilemmas. Find the pain that people are going through, because that's where there is real growth. In fact, someone told me, he said, look here, whatever Toyota has a car made in 8 years, it is the same kind of revenue Tesla by Elon Musk achieved in only 11 years. Now they are all cars, but I'll tell you one thing. What made Tesla very different from the other brands is that they did not just provide transportation. They did not just provide mobility. They solved a problem, an existential problem of our time. Climate change, global warming. This is real. If you look at the floods, the tornadoes, if you look at the droughts, if you look at everything happening, it used to happen in Asia and faraway countries, but it's coming home. And someone say, Mother Nature is unforgiving. Mother Nature never forgives. You hurt Mother Nature will hurt you back. No forgiveness there. Tesla brought electrical cars that solve a perennial problem humanity is facing. And let me tell you, no fossil fuel, no carbon emission, safe, but extremely expensive. One Tesla car can buy you another 5 to 10 other cars. But he knew that he's solving a problem, and the people that can afford good cars will go for this kind of a car. In 11 years, he achieved revenue that other countries and other companies took like 8 years to achieve. Now, number 2 thing that we want to look at today, after finding the problem, number 2, you have to disassemble the problem. You have to break down the problem into smaller units. And let me tell you, in my studies of business, I've come to realize that some countries have built their entire economy on this philosophy of solving problems. And one of those countries is Japan. The whole country business philosophy is about Kaizen. What is Kaizen? Kaizen is the philosophy of finding problems, solving them, and solving them better, and making the solution better and better and better again and again. That Kaizen. So the entire Japanese economy is built on one philosophy. Find problems, solve them. Look at Japan, a small country, but one of the world's superpowers and the most prosperous countries in the world. Why? Because people are born, they are taught on how to figure out problems and solve them. Now, unfortunately, in our education system, our brains are vessels. They are filled with irrelevant contents, irrelevant literacy. They are filled with irrelevant scientific informations that do not address pertinent and contemporary problems that humanity is facing. For you to distinguish yourself in life and career or in anything you do, just figure out the problems of your time and your generation and find them and break them down. And break them down in a way that it becomes even possible for them to be solved. You see, a big problem is never a one single problem. A big problem is made by many smaller problems, and then eventually it becomes a big problem. When someone gets a heart attack or someone gets into a coma is not a single event. A heart attack is not a single event. The arteries got blocked, the veins got blocked, something failed, there was a clot here. Little things put together and create a massive heart attack. Little things come together, create a massive coma. Little things come together, create a massive stroke that tells you a big problem is never a single unit problem. It's smaller problems put together, and then they create a bigger scenario. Now, to solve a problem after finding it, break it down. You could say, the problems in my society, in my community, or these are multi-million US dollar problems, these are multi-billion Uganda shillings problems. They are not. You'll be surprised that if you break those problems into smaller units, you can start from where you are with the little resources, the little skills, and the little tools you have. And eventually, one thing leads to another. You have to connect the dots. All problems are connected. The way the late Steve Jobs say, you can only connect the dots going backward. So look at the big picture, but just know every problem that we face in our community, in our schools, with our health, with everything that you can ever imagine that is a challenge or a problem or a dilemma in society, there are dots that all these things are connected to. The first or the second step to problem solving is separate the dots. Separate the dots. Problems are never single units. Problems are made by many more micro problems to make a big problem. That's step number 2. Step number 3, prioritize the problems that you should solve first. Sometimes we are faced with so many challenges and we don't know which one to start with. I say, prioritize your problem-solving process. In fact, Stephen Covey, the author of the famous book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is the one who once said, he said, all highly effective people, one of the habits they have is that they do fast things fast. Fast things fast. So it's a chicken and egg scenario. What comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg? Now, if you can't figure out what comes first between the chicken and the egg, then you are stuck in life. A lot of people are stuck, not because they can't solve problems of their times or problems that they are facing as individuals or as a family or as a community, but simply because they can't prioritize the problem-solving process. So, what is the most important thing that you should handle first? What are the most urgent things that you should address first? Did you know that some things in life can be very important, but they're not urgent? They can wait. Other things can be very urgent, but they're not important at all. But then you have things that are not urgent and not important. And then number 4, you have those that are very urgent and very important. Those are the ones you start with. And I'll tell you, life is measured in terms of time. If someone is 12 years old, they have no car, they have no job, they have no house, they have no savings, they have no bank account, nobody will label them as a failure at 12, at 15. But if the same person is 35 or 40, they have no job, no car, no house, no savings, they'll be labeled as a failure. Because you know why? Life is measured through time unit. Now, you must learn how to prioritize the things that you should do in life. I know a lot of people are chasing the wrong rabbits. A lot of people are chasing the wrong goals. A lot of people are in the wrong races. A lot of people are spending too much time measuring on minors instead of measuring on majors. So, number 3 steps into problem solving, ladies and gentlemen, is about learning how to prioritize the things that you should give your attention, your resources, and your energy to. And because of time today, the 4th steps to problem solving will be plan the work. To effectively solve a problem, there must be very good planning behind it. That is what we call strategic thinking, where you figure out what are the key elements of the problem. But then you have what you call strategic objectives, where you now break down the key objectives of the problems, the widely important one, the goals, and the pretty important one. So you have to plan. I talked about prioritization. Which comes first, which comes second. Then after getting all the elements that should be taken care of in solving this problem, you have to come up with a plan. There must be a bit of strategic planning. So it means simply which activity has to be done and who is best to handle this activity. What kind of resources do we need, or talent or skills or tools in order to address this problem? What the time frame that we can take to speak into this problem? And then what are the performance indicators, the things that will show us we're on the right track in solving this problem? And then finally, the final outcome. By solving this problem, what are the benefits? You start with the end in mind. I say critical, planning the solutions. You must sit back, analyze the problem, find it, break it down, disassemble, prioritize, and then plan on offering the solutions. Most problems are not solved because they are not taken into a structured way. The approach is not structured. People are all over. I say, as I conclude tonight's show, on the 7 steps of problem solving, which we have just looked at the first 4 steps, I will say this: planning, critical in problem solving. If we just take time to think about how we can go solving the problems that are facing our generation, I think there will be a lot of gratification and satisfaction. And I'll finish with this quote. It is said, a good engineer can build a bridge anytime. You have a budget, you have a location, you have materials, you ask them to build a bridge, they'll move on and they build the bridge. But they say a great engineer won't just jump into the opportunity going to build a bridge. They will ask, is it first of all necessary to build this bridge? Where is it that this bridge should be built? And who should be involved in building the bridge? What time of the year? What kind of the season that the bridge should be built? I say, a good engineer build a bridge, but a great engineer sit down and ask pertinent questions before engaging himself to building the bridge. So the difference between a good engineer and a great engineer could simply be planning. And I'll tell you, in our lives, either from a family perspective, from a career perspective, or even if you are in some enterprises, business and venture, the difference between those who make it big and those who make it small could not even be skills or opportunities or resources or budget or connections. It could simply be planning. I've come to appreciate that successful people that get breakthroughs in life, they are smarter and a little bit much better when it comes to planning than the average person. With all the problems facing today, what have you planned? How have you planned when it comes to solving those problems? We'll continue this conversation next week. And until then, be inspired before you expire. Don't forget, the world is saturated with products and services. What the world is looking for today are men and women who can find the problems and find solutions to those problems. Those are the ones that get ahead in life and in anything they do. Thank you. Good night.